I want to show you guys a really weird verse in the book of Mark. As Yeshua came out of the temple, one of the Talmudim said to him, "Look, Rabbi, what huge stones, what magnificent buildings. You see all these great buildings?" And Yeshua said to him, "They will be totally destroyed. Not a single stone will be left standing." Now, at first glance, this verse seems somewhat innocuous. There's not much going on because what follows is the disciples ask him, when is this event going to happen? Like, when are all these things going to be torn down? And Jesus begins to talk about the fact that, watch out, don't be fooled. Lots of people are going to come in my name. Lots of people are going to say that, I'm the one and I've returned, right? And he's saying, don't be fooled by these people. Don't be fooled by these lies. Don't be fooled by the wars and the rumors of war and all of the things and the turmoil that's going to get stirred up after I leave here. And so he says, don't be fooled by all of these worldly events, because while the end is near, the end is still yet to come. And these events, they're signals that you're nearing the end, but they're not the signal of the end. They are not the end in and of themselves. And so this whole sequence just seems very strange until you realize why the disciple was calling out how beautiful all the buildings were. And that's the part that really hung me up. Why would you suddenly start talking about how magnificent the temple is to Jesus as though he'd never seen it before? As though the disciple had never seen it before, right? I mean, the odds are they'd both seen the temple. It's not like this was like a new thing to them. And it's not written in such a way that it's like the disciple was just kind of over here marveling at the magnificence of the temple. He's specifically calling it out to Jesus. And that's when I realized what's happening. You have to remember that the disciples had in their mind a Messiah who was going to return and restore Israel to its former glory. A king in physical and bodily form, restoring Israel to its former glory in physical form. And so you could imagine this disciple trying to sort of like, hey, Jesus, look at how great your kingdom is. Look at this magnificent temple that's part of our kingdom here, right? It's like when someone's trying to like demonstrate to the boss that they understand the boss's priorities. And so they're like, look at this great thing over here that the boss did, right? Or look at this magnificent thing that the boss is doing, right? And they're, again, it's not that they understand the boss's priorities. It's that they think that this is how they demonstrate to the boss that they understand the goal, that they understand the priority of what we're trying to accomplish. I could almost imagine it like an employee watching their manager admonish somebody severely or fire somebody, and then they come around the back and they're like, "That was excellent, good job, like you just showed them, you took them out, that was perfectly executed," right? And they're praising this thing that the boss just did. But then the boss immediately turns around and says, we should never take glory from having to admonish. We should never revel in other people's failures. The employee thought they understood the priority, but the boss immediately corrects them and shows them that that wasn't the goal. The goal was not the firing. The goal was not the admonishment. In fact, it actually breaks his heart to have to do that. And it's like Jesus is saying the same thing here. It's this guy's going, look at this magnificent temple. Look at this greatness of what you're getting ready to come into. Look at the glory of your kingdom. And Jesus says, this isn't my kingdom. This whole thing's about to be torn down. And there's going to be a whole bunch of people that are going to come after me and say, I'm the guy. And there's going to be all kinds of like flash and glamour and earthquakes and wars and hullabaloo and all these other things. And just like Elijah in the cave, he's saying, I'm not in the fire. I'm not in the earthquake. I'm the still small voice. But I think this is the same thing that happens sometimes in the church. We see all these great things that we're doing for God, right? And so we get this big building and we get all these programs and all this tithe money coming in and all these new believers coming in and people getting baptized and all these other things, right? And we look at it and we go, look at this great building. Look at this great kingdom. Look at all these great things that we're doing for you. And Jesus says, you have 10,000 members in your church, and only 100 of them are members of my church. You have millions of dollars for the lost and the poor, while the members of your own congregation can't even afford to make their rent. And I want to be clear, I'm not saying there's anything wrong with having a big church. There's nothing wrong with having buildings or programs or any of these things. What I'm simply saying is that as we are building, we need to make sure that we don't lose the plot. That we don't come to the place where we start thinking that, look at all these great things I'm doing for you. Look at all these magnificent things about your kingdom. All the while Jesus is sitting here saying, that's not my kingdom. My kingdom is this. People will know that you're my disciples by your love for one another. Shh.